shooting down in the woods. He wouldn't leave it even if he could. 'Cause life is good, yeah!
Hey, this is Hickok45, your internet shooting companion, coming to you from the deep woods of Middle Tennessee. Yep, Tennessee, home of Alvin York, Daniel Boone, Johnny Cash, and the lovely Dolly Parton. So, what am I doing? What's this all about? What is going on? Is this a radio show on YouTube? What's wrong with that picture? Well, I don't know what it is, but anyway, I have long been, not frustrated, but I've had a desire at times to just communicate a little bit more in addition to the messages and comments that we all exchange with the viewers, with the listeners in this case, with subscribers. And there's really not a venue for doing that, maybe some gigantic blog or something. So anyway, this was kind of John's idea. Blame it on John, my son. He thought this would be a neat idea, so I'm willing to try anything, and you know, I don't mind gabbing, you know that from some of the videos. I get occasionally somebody tells me I talk too much and don't shoot enough. Hard to imagine that, me not shooting enough. But anyway, this gives me a little bit more license to gab, and I will try, I promise, to gab about things that might be of interest to you, okay? Not just gab for the sake of gabbing. So anyway, that's what I'm doing. This is just kind of a gigantic vlog, I guess, without the V, without the video, other than my beautiful face there looking at you, which you're not tied to, of course, situation like this. What I want to do is just pick a few topics that perhaps I have touched on in a vlog or somewhere else, but not had time to discuss in any kind of depth. Could be an issue of the day, could be something regarding the firearms laws or issues that pop up from time to time. Might do an interview with somebody, maybe Ginger, my golden retriever. Might talk about guns. In fact, I will. Guns that I don't have anymore. You know, it dawned on me recently, I know a little bit about quite a few firearms that you have not seen in my hands, and I get questions about them. So, you know, I might just talk about some of those. I've had a Sharps Buffalo gun. I've had fully automatic Uzi. You know, I've had some interesting firearms, and those aren't the only ones that I just don't have anymore. You know how we are. We trade and sell and go through that process over a period of years. So we'll talk about a couple of those today. And we'll just see what we do. Not sure everything we're going to do. One of the things that prompted me to perhaps go ahead with this was, of course, this craziness in Arizona. So I want to talk about that. And again, I'm not competing here or interviewing for some radio gig in a Nashville radio station. I have nothing, no interest in anything other than just providing another venue for communicating with you all. I do a lot of that as it is, and this is a little bit more relaxed. Like I say, I can come out to the barn. I'm out here in the reloading shed with all the accoutrements that are involved in that. You've seen this in a few of the videos, and I just sit here and have a chat with you. So hope it's of some interest to you and some use. So well, let's just jump right in and talk about this Arizona craziness that occurred last week. You know, I have no special insight, of course. I did make a posting on my homepage about it that some of you commented on. It's so insane and so tragic that it almost defies, obviously, explanation. Or, you know, it's just one of those things that is so tragic you almost better off not say anything about it. You know, the words can't really capture the level of that craziness, that insanity, the tragic situation there, you know, with those good people being killed, that little girl and all of that. It's just, you know, it almost demeans it by trying to talk about it in a lot of ways. And if you've ever had death and losses in your family, you know what I'm talking about. You know, words just don't describe it, and there's not much you can say to make it any better, right? But anyway, it's a crazy thing. It's like when a plane falls out of the sky. There's just nothing more horrible than that. Or if a bus crashes and 20 people are killed. Part of the randomness of life, it could affect any of us. It's not likely to. The odds of that are rare. But it's when you mix insanity, I guess, with a hateful heart, there's just a very deadly combination. It's just too bad that wasn't revealed enough, and there weren't enough flags to get somebody to try to do something about that situation. It's just absolutely crazy when someone is that insane that they're having the police come to deal with them 5 times, as I understand, on a college campus. How many college students do you know that have had to have the police come and address the situation, other than maybe drinking too much in a fraternity house or something, So, don't know how this person was left walking around, able to be unleashed upon innocent people. But, and of course, we all know that in the United States, getting a firearm is not going to be a problem. There are millions and millions, hundreds of millions, I guess, of firearms, which is a testament to human nature. This is a very rare occurrence, of course, and in most cases, the hundreds of millions of guns that were in people's homes last night did nothing other than help them to sleep more safely and to provide them enjoyment on the shooting range or hunting. So occasionally there's a severe abuse of whatever it might be, whether it's alcohol, whether it's an automobile, a knife, or just whatever it might be, someone's mind, their tongue. Some people are so abusive with their tongues and their feeble minds upon other people, children, that they can inflict almost as serious damage. So there's a physical wound, and maybe that's why some of those people later do inflict physical wounds. They've had the mental abuse in their lives and whatever. There's no way to sum it up. I don't know. It's just crazy. It's just sad. Very, very, very sad. And it does, of course, affect all of us who are firearms enthusiasts to some extent. It shouldn't. An incident like that's really not about firearms. It's about insanity. But we know we do have the anti-gun faction out there who are afraid of inanimate objects and want to blame those. Just like I blame my ballpoint pen when I misspell a word. And I really enjoy blaming the plates in my kitchen and the forks when I get a little bit overweight. It's really their fault. It's that fork. It's that refrigerator. It's not me. But it does affect us. It affects, to some extent already. You're seeing gun sales going through the roof. Gun magazines are being scarfed up, and out of stock various places because of this. People in fear of more firearms restrictions, and we've been through this quite a few times, so you can't blame people for that attitude. I think most of the people are not afraid that some wacko is going to shoot them. That's not necessarily why they're buying guns. There's maybe a little bit of that. If a person has been considering purchasing a gun and getting a carry permit or something, maybe this just pushes him or her over the edge on that, and they decide to go ahead and do that. So some of the increase in gun sales, I believe I heard on the national news, it was 60% increase this past week. Some of it is can be attributed to that, I think, but most of it is just political. It's people who have been through this before, like myself, and many of you know that there could be more restrictions coming on various things because there's political gain through doing that. When you have an emotional issue, it's always tempting for a politician to seize that moment and seize that crisis and make political hay out of it. So we'll see some of that. But what we can do is just continue with being responsible firearms owners and continuing to represent, firearms in a positive light. There's nothing, you young people especially, hopefully you don't have the idea that there's some macho aspect to owning guns. I know it's fun. It's like getting in a car and getting on a racetrack and driving 100 120 miles per hour. That's cool. Just like shooting a .44 Magnum and blowing up a cinder block or a barrel or something like I do occasionally. There's nothing macho about it. It's just fun. And those of you who shoot a lot know that. It's something where you have to be extremely safe. You have to maintain that incredible level of safety and responsibility whenever you're around a firearm, which 99.9% of people do. You know, we're all smart enough to do that. So it's a fun thing. It's a sport. It's also something that can save our lives, of course, and keep our country free, despite the fact that occasionally there's an incident like happened last week. So, but anyway, represent firearms in a positive light and do the best you can with that. Never be afraid of discussing firearms and letting people know that that's one of your hobbies. You know, that's one of the issues with firearms. I've said for decades, one of the reasons that there are so many people in the dark about firearms is that the only thing they read about firearms, you know, a lot of people, is what they see on the front page of the morning newspaper, you know, as somebody being shot. And then, of course, all the anti-gun articles, which generally do appear in newspapers. So that's their only exposure to firearms, unless they happen to have somebody in the family who is a shooter and, you know, has a firearm. So a lot of people get their information, their perspective from those sources, from the media, the very worst place, because most of media is going to be anti-firearms. We all know that, if you're a shooter. So it's up to us, just regular folks, to make sure that we're presenting a counterbalance to that, and not being obnoxious about it. Just, hey, it's my hobby. I can't hide my hobby, can I? It's out there for the world to see, so I don't have to bring it up much, but I always have. And when discussions come up, even if I'm in a very I don't know, we say a left-wing group or a group where I know that there are, and I've been in industries and worked with people who were basically, particularly in the Northeast, that were a little anti-gun and like what I was just describing. Their knowledge of firearms was really what they read in the paper. I'll never forget being with a company and having a dinner in Philadelphia, and you know, I don't know, the subject came up about Tennessee, and someone asked, you got a gun rack in your pickup truck? Well, you know, at the time, I actually did. I don't anymore, and I didn't hesitate. I just said, well, actually I do. If you have ever had a pickup truck, especially just a standard size, a lot of them are larger now with, you know, 4 doors and that kind of thing. You have a little back seat and everything. I said, if you've ever had a pickup truck that didn't really have that, and you do go shooting, taking your long guns to the range very often, or maybe a fisherman, either one, it's really difficult to find a place to stick your rifle or your shotgun. It really is in a pickup truck. You can't lay it on the seat and sit on it. If you put it on the floor, it's leaned up against the window. It's just it's very awkward. So gun racks for pickup trucks came about for a reason. You slip it up there on that gun rack, and it's totally out of the way. You know, people who don't really know that, have no experience with it, I think saw that and see that as someone trying to be macho. Look at me riding around with my big shotgun hanging in the window. Ain't I tough? You know, there may be a few people that have that as a motivation, but generally speaking, it's for practical reasons. So, but anyway, I would, yeah, actually I do, and I explain that to them. You know, so it's our responsibility to be sensible and halfway intelligent about those sorts of things, and just treat firearms as if it's a golf hobby, you know. And as I was about to say earlier, the shooting sports, the thing we have going against us is what I was just talking about, but also the nature of it. The nature of it being potentially dangerous, you know, bullets flying around. It's a hidden sport, you know. It's a hidden sport because it needs to be. Shooting ranges are not going to be, generally speaking, I know of one here in Nashville, it's a shotgun range right along the interstate, but you're not going to see, you're not going to be driving down the road, oh, there's a shooting range, there's some guys out there shooting, it's interesting. There's a young lady out there, and looks like a family, like you do a golf course. You see a bunch of guys or women or maybe a family out on the golf course having an enjoyable Saturday morning. You don't see that at shooting ranges. They're all back away from everything, But just like golf, on any given day or Saturday morning or Sunday, there are people there by the dozens and hundreds, of course, taking their guns to the range and shooting. It's just that nobody, unless you're a shooter, sees that. So it's out of sight, out of mind, until some idiot lowlife, shoots somebody on Saturday night over $10 or a drug deal, and it's splashed all over the front page of the paper with, of course, all the implications that the firearms are responsible, and these horrible 9mm semi-automatic firearms, and you know how the media always mentions it's a semi-automatic because that's kind of a buzzword. Technology's been around for 100 years, but they've got to throw that in because they know that will incite their base, the people who do not like firearms. So, but anyway, it's our responsibility to try to keep all that in a positive light, and even when things like this come up, it's going to happen. There's going to be tragedy. There will be a plane crash probably in the next 6 months somewhere. People die horribly. There will be some, sad to say, there will be a horrible shooting probably within the next year somewhere on the planet. It's just in a free society, you just can't be guarded against everything. If you want a totally safe society, then I guess you want a police state, which even then wouldn't be totally safe, especially safe from the police state. Study history. I don't want a police state. I don't think most of you either. I don't want to live in a police state. I would rather live with the risk of something like this happening to me. I'll try to take care of myself. I will run the risk of that happening to me. I do not want to live in a police state. I would rather live in a free country as we do, and those things are just going to happen. As sad as they are. So anyway, I'm starting to ramble on that, so I better shut up. Anyway, hope you're representing our firearms community in a positive light, and just like any other sport, I've played lots of different sports, and shooting is just one of them. It's just a fact. And on that same topic of magazine bans and all that kind of thing, the political situations that result from somebody's misery, as happened to some extent with this Arizona tragedy, it tends to cause people to specialize a little bit. And here's what I mean by that. I've liked Glocks for a long time, no secret about that. Well, you live through a few of these scares and these crime bills, quote unquote, and you end up paying $100 for a Glock 19 magazine, $150 for a Glock 20 magazine. After you've done that a few times, you begin to get the picture, even if you're someone that's not so bright, like myself. I remember paying, this was during the crime bill era, that 10-year period, paying $150 for a Glock 20 magazine. Bought a couple of them at that price. I had acquired, actually won the Glock 29, I think I mentioned in my first Glock 29 video. That's a 10mm Glock, for those who don't know. Won that in a GSSF match by winning subcompact class, and was real proud of that gun. But I wanted a higher capacity magazine for it, just for kicks. It would take a Glock 20 magazine, so I thought it'd be nice to have a couple. Well, that was of course during that time period, and the Glock 10mm had not been out as long as the 9s. And so there were not as many on the market, and of course any that you bought had to have been made prior to whenever that crime bill was initiated. So I remember distinctly paying $300 for 2 Glock 20 magazines at a gun show in Louisville. How bizarre is that? You can buy them for $20, $25 now. And I remember trading, I guess it was maybe three Glock 23 magazines, might have been 4. It's either 3 or 4 Glock 23 magazines for a gun. I traded those for a Glock 27, I believe, at a gun show. I mean, the magazines were like gold because of politics, that's all. Politics, it was crazy. So anyway, you can't blame me for specializing over the last 10, 15, 20 years, getting the Glocks that I wanted, and the magazines, an ample supply of magazines for them. That's why people do that. I know people who have way more magazines than I have. You just don't want to get caught again in that situation. And it does tend to cause a person to specialize a little bit. You know, a lot of people have asked me, why don't you have an M&P? Why don't you have this? Why don't you have that? Why do you have just Glocks? And, well, part of that is from coming through that era. You can't just willy-nilly get some other gun. You know, for one thing, during the crime bill era, if you had decided you wanted to get into, I don't know, an M&P or some other, a SIG, you wouldn't have been able to get a high-capacity magazine or a standard capacity magazine for those guns. Anything over 10 rounds. And in some ways, that limited your enthusiasm for getting into another firearm. You know, so anyway, all that stuff rolled into it, and it tends to make people think about that sort of thing. So hopefully we don't have another here we go again situation after this Arizona shooting. So enough on that. Okay, let's move on to more, I don't know about pleasant subjects, but we'll get away from some of the negative things that have happened. After all, shooting is a really enjoyable sport, and let's move on to some things that I don't know, are a little more fun to talk about. And I thought I'd give you some information about the history of how I got into doing YouTube videos. Have gotten many questions about that. And you know, this is a really good venue for discussing things that are much more complicated than what I could put in an FAQ. But kind of how that came about. I've always been a camera, I say always, probably since early 70s, kind of a camera buff in a way. Not hardcore, but I've always had a pretty nice camera. Enjoy taking pictures and some creative, and but largely just to kind of chronicle my life and family's life, and get pictures of family and that sort of thing. So I've always been maybe the guy that's had a camera around. And then when they got smaller, even the film cameras, I got to where I would keep one in my vest pocket or somewhere close by, and that was pretty handy. The point and shoot cameras, even though they were big by comparison with today's little digital cameras. And so I've always been a bit of a camera guy. And what was really cool, of course, was the move to digital. And when the little Canon ELPH cameras came about, kind of pricey, but the size of a pack of cigarettes or smaller, that would actually do a little video in addition to taking digital stills. I got to carry one of those in my pocket. I guess that was around 2000, 2001. So I really enjoyed that. Of course, I've been a computer guy since 81. I bought an Apple II in 81. I was one of the first people into computers, actually, believe it or not. And so it was pretty neat when the digital cameras came along, and you could just put the pictures on there, and you could do little MPEGs, short videos with them. So that was pretty cool, even though the resolution was not very good on the earliest ones. So I would just mess around with things like that. The very oldest video we have up, and one of the very first things I guess I ever filmed shooting-wise, is the one that's called Colt 45. I think we initially called it the Buffalo Shoot or something, but it's the oldest video up, our very first video, I guess, posted. And it was in July of 07, I think we posted that. And it was just me walking around the farm with a gun, shooting, as I have done for decades. And I just had that in my left pocket. I keep a camera in my left pocket, and so I was shooting black powder cartridges, walking around and pulled it out, take some shots at the steel buffalo. So I just pulled out the camera and clicked MPEG and held it in my left hand as I shot that buffalo. That was just me walking around. And I don't know, that thing was just in a file of MPEGs and photos. Actually, I probably did it a couple of years before it was posted. I don't know. And so that's how that thing came about. And then somewhere in there, some of you may remember, not many of you, but I did a couple of stupid things shooting through my car. A friend was out, and John was off to college, I think, but a friend of mine was out, we were shooting, and I got a wild idea just to open up the car, the Element, and just open the doors up and then just shoot through it just for kicks. And did that, a couple of little short videos, and one was down by the shooting range. Just opened it up and shot at several targets through it. It was no great shooting feat, if you remember seeing that. I was standing really close to the car, and I just shot through it and hit some of the targets. Nothing amazing or anything, but it was just kind of a lark, just something kind of fun to do, goofing around. And I actually posted those on YouTube. I think those might have been the first thing I posted, to tell you the truth. And those stupid things were up there for about a year. And if you look at the old videos, like the Colt-45 that is posted July of 07, I've had people ask me, did I miss some videos? Did you take a bunch of videos down? What's with that lost period between July of 07 and then the winter of 08, 09 when I started posting videos? Well, there were a couple of videos, but we really didn't do any. Just those 2 or 3 stupid videos shooting through the Honda. And those were up there a pretty good while. I guarantee you a couple of you saw those. And then when I started doing more serious videos, got going into it, because there were a lot of people that would make rude comments on those, because they were, I guess, thinking that I was showing off, that, wow, look at me, I can hit this target through. And they were right. There was no great marksmanship or anything, and I knew that. It's like some of the stuff I do now. It's so funny. The barrel shoot with the AK, I've had a couple different people come onto that one and say something like, well, anybody can hit from that distance. Well, yeah, you think? Yeah, probably so. 5 yards. That's not the point. It's just fun, goofing around. I can shoot okay at longer ranges. I just enjoy fooling around short ranges sometimes. But anyway, we got a lot of weird comments on that. And then when I started doing videos that I thought might have had a little value to them, explaining firearms and that sort of thing, I just took those down. I felt like early on they were kind of detracting from, what I'd gotten started doing. And of course now I don't think it would matter, because I think I have a mixture of, serious videos, useful videos, and then some goofy videos. So we do a little bit of everything. But at that time we just didn't have much in the way of educational stuff yet, and so it was still kind of overshadowing, I think, what I wanted to do. But anyway. And during that time period, John was, my son was off to college, and he was prowling around YouTube looking for good shooting videos and that kind of thing, and he wasn't finding much, and that was, I guess, 07, 08, and I was doing a little bit. I was doing a thing for my students on Shane, like the Guns of the West, kind of a primitive version of that, and I sent him that on a DVD, and showed him what I was doing. I did a little Glock thing and showed him that. And I really wasn't even thinking about posting stuff on YouTube, really kind of serious stuff. And he kept telling me that, man, Dad, you need to put this stuff on YouTube. There's just nothing out there any good. And so he came home, I guess that spring, and we got to doing that, making some more videos. He helped me, make some more. He did the filming. I'd been using a tripod. And so we got to posting them, and that's kind of how it started. And the reception was really good. That crazy Glock 19 and some of those videos were the early ones. They're up there with 500,000 views now or so, and people still like those. So that was how we got going. And John really talked me into it. And so then when he was behind the camera, it made them a lot better. And and that's just kind of how we did it. So we were just going to post videos. I don't know. We were enjoying it, one every week or 2 weeks or just whatever. Then YouTube notified me, I don't know, it was about 6 months into it, of serious postings, if you want to call them serious, but actually doing some videos. Wanted to know if I was interested in being a partner and having banner ads and that kind of thing. I wasn't even sure. I didn't even know. They stated I could make a little money, and I didn't know you could do that. I didn't know. I was so naive. I didn't know. I was just doing it for the fun and help people out. So I said, I guess so. I figured I could always cancel it if it was too annoying. And I thought, well, it'd be funny because I'll get 7 cents, first month or something, and I can make a big deal out of that and have fun with that as a joke. So I went ahead and did it, and it just kind of grew from there. And it turned out to be more than 7 cents, enough to start paying for ammo and stuff. And so, oh, it's kind of cool, And so we got a little more serious about it, and taking a little more time and thinking about videos that we could do that people would like, and kind of went from there. So that's kind of where we are. Got started doing it just for fun, and all through the first 6 months or a year, actually, and making a little bit of money doing it now, of course, paying for a lot of stuff. We're trying to fold that right back into the project with firearms or ammo and cameras, just making it better. So, I don't know, in case you're interested, that's kind of how it came about, and the rest is history, right? I thought I'd talk about some guns I've had. A couple of pretty popular firearms that a lot of you might be familiar with. One is the Sharps. I haven't had a Sharps for a couple of years, I guess. And the Sharps is kind of a classic buffalo rifle. The 1874 Sharps, single shot. It's kind of a lever gun. If you've seen Quigley Down Under, that's what he carries and uses. Really an interesting gun, very romantic firearm, if you know what I mean. Really cool, really cool. And I always wanted one. First one I got, it's probably been, maybe 15 years ago. I don't know. It was a Pedersoli, made in Italy, and it was a fine gun. It was really nice. I think it had about a 28-inch barrel, maybe, and I enjoyed that. 45-70 caliber. And I didn't load, I don't think I loaded any black powder for it. I think I was shooting my standard 45-70 loads at that time. I think I was not even loading black powder cartridges at that time. Yeah, that's right. And so I had that for several years and enjoyed it. It's just a very interesting firearm to pack around the farm and take shots with. A little big, a little long. Really they're designed for very long ranges. They'll shoot at short range. I never did get really the full, potential out of it, of course. I don't know what I traded that thing for. I sold it or traded it to somebody. I don't even recall right now. If I thought about it a while or looked it up, I could tell you. But I let that one get away. And then later on, I actually came by a Shiloh Sharps, if you happen to know what that is. That's pretty much one of the primo Sharps rifles, made in, Big Timber, Montana. They're really sweet. And this one was about a 32-incher. And I'd always wanted a Shiloh, but you had to order them, and the waiting period, I think, was about, a year at the time. And I happened to buy one in a shop and had a little extra money at the time. A fellow had ordered two, and then couldn't take one, couldn't pay for it or something. I don't know what the deal was exactly. But it was there. Guy had it for sale. And so I got myself into that. And so I had a Shiloh Sharps 45-70. Octagonal barrel, about a 32-inch barrel. Had a really nice tang sight on it. It was a sweet gun. And that gun, it was really too good for me. That is the kind of gun you need to be a long-range black powder cartridge competitor to own, basically, or else you're kind of, it's a waste in some ways. But I had it for 6-7 years, I guess. I'd take it out about once a year and fire it some. I got the loading black powder cartridges for it, 500 grain bullets in 45-70. That was kind of fun. I'd put it on sticks and shoot it out there at 230 yards. But the funny thing about that was that gun is famous for being able to shoot 1,000 yards, and that one would do it, and no doubt about that. But I don't know, I could shoot most of my rifles just as well, and some of them almost easier at 230 yards than that thing. I'm not sure what it was about it. It was just so long and so large, so ungainly that, again, it was really designed for really long ranges. And I toyed with the idea of getting into long-range metallic silhouette shooting, black powder cartridges, whatever they call that sport. I even went to a match down around Bon Aqua, Tennessee. I remember one Sunday afternoon and watched the guys shoot it, and that was pretty cool, out to 1,000 yards and all that. And I came close to getting into that, but I was already into too many things. Cowboy shooting, IPSC, IDPA, and everything else. GSSF, and I just really I wouldn't do it. So I eventually sold or traded that one too. But anyway, I just wanted to let you know I have had a couple of Sharps rifles. I get questions about those sometimes, or why I don't have them, or if I have them. I have had a couple of those for a period of years, so I know how they work. I can take them apart. I can load for them. It's just something I have experience with. I just don't have one now. Very sweet. If that's something you fantasize about, by all means, try to get your hands on one. They are really neat guns. They, if you have a long range somewhere where you can, stretch it out to 400 or 500 yards, especially. But they're pretty cool. They're not cheap. You can't really get any of them without spending $1,000, it seems, or close to it. But they're just really neat. A lot of history and an interesting design. So pretty cool. Pretty cool. Another gun I had for 10 years was an Uzi. Oh man, when did I buy that thing? I was traveling at the time. I won't say what I was doing, but I was not in education. I spent 11 years out of education and was involved in traveling, different things, a different profession. And I bought an Uzi semi-automatic and had it converted. This was about 83, I guess, something like that. Had it converted to fully auto, of course legally, paperwork, the whole 9 yards. And you don't ever want to do anything like that. It's not legal. It's just beyond brainless, So it was legal and fully automatic, 9mm Uzi. It was made by IMI, an Israeli Uzi. Had a lot of fun with that gun. I got there. I didn't shoot it that often. I'd keep it in the bank. I have a large bank box and at my local bank. And I would get it out a time or two a year and shoot it a little bit. But I really just did not shoot it all that much. A lot of people just can't imagine ever having an Uzi, a real one, and letting it go. I don't know. I guess because I like so many different kinds of firearms. That one I was just able to let go. A fellow who is an actual dealer, he's a physician, actually, an emergency room physician who deals in Class 3 firearms. Obviously a very legitimate fellow, set up at a gun show down in southern Tennessee. Got to talking with him, and the price had gone way up on those things, and he was interested in buying it from me, and I really didn't shoot it that much anymore. John was still kind of young, and if it had been 2 or 3 years older, he'd probably never let me sell that thing, because he wouldn't have been tired of it, that's for sure. Because he was old enough just to shoot it a few times, but he was still pretty young. But anyway, I had an Uzi fully automatic, and don't have that now. But just couldn't turn down the offer on it at the time. Interesting gun. They're really heavy for a 9mm. A lot of better 9mm guns of that genre, are out there and have come out since the Uzi was invented. Now, it's a great gun, but it's a tank. Those things, I think they weigh 10 or 11 pounds. So you got a 10 or 11 pound 9mm is what you have. A little bit clunky, give me a Glock 19 or a Glock 17 and I can really just do about whatever I need to do. Pretty close to what that Uzi would do, to tell you the truth. But it was fun while I had it, and very simple design, was really reliable, had the folding stock, 10-inch barrel. When I say 10-inch barrel, if you don't know that, an Uzi, this was a full-size Uzi, but the Uzi barrel screws into the gun. What you see protruding at the front of an Uzi is probably, 3-4 inches of it, but that's actually a 10-inch barrel. The barrel goes way back into the gun, so it is a 10-inch barrel, even though it looks like about a 4-inch barrel. But quite an interesting firearm, and something I've had quite a bit of experience with. I used to get it out in the range and find a drum or a barrel and shoot up stuff with it. Shoot bowling pins, just shoot whatever we felt like shooting that was safe. So anyway, a couple of firearms that I have had experience with, thought you might find interesting, and I'll have a lot more of those. I'll talk about it in future broadcasts. If you've listened this long, you might just be a member of the I Like Guns Too Much and Need a Life fraternity. You know, I'm a member of that group myself. I think I have the t-shirt, the hat, and the card in my wallet. So congratulations for lasting this long. You know, by the way, if you did last this long, you are probably aware of every single one of my videos, and you know that I had a little trouble with the M&P, discovered the cracked slide on my very first video. Well, you all discovered it. I hadn't noticed it because it apparently just had happened. But sent it off to Smith & Wesson just prior to Christmas. It was, I think, the 22nd. And the fellow I spoke with, the tech guy, said that a lot of their people would be on vacation. It was right, you know, during the holidays, of course, and that it would be, you know, sometime first week or two of January before it could count on it getting looked at, probably. And he was correct, but apparently they got right on it when people got back in there and, you know, shipped it back to me. I got it on, I guess, the 13th, maybe 12th or 13th of January 2011, so just this past week. So kudos to Smith & Wesson for getting that taken care of pretty promptly. Looks like they put, well, it's a new slide. Doesn't look like it. I don't think they took a hammer and just beat on the old one. So they put a new slide on the gun, and I have not fired it yet, but I will be getting it out, and we'll do a chapter 2 with that gun before too long. Weather is, of course, an issue these days. We still have snow on the ground, but it's not going to be quite so cold this weekend, so we're going to do some other videos, I think. And anyway, glad to have the M&P back. So let me know what you'd like me to talk about in this this crazy radio gig here on YouTube. How's that for a oxymoron? If you have suggestions about things that you'd like to hear me talk about, as usual, don't know that I can do what you want me to do, but I like to hear the suggestions. Or you think I should can it, and this is the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard of, let me know that too. Unless you're a troll, of course. I tend to give more credence to subscribers and people that are loyal listeners and enjoy the videos. But anyway, one thing I did decide is that I would not make it mandatory that you listen to these. So, you know, just in the interest of freedom, which is what most of us are about who are into firearms, you know, I'm not going to require that you listen to these. So just relax. It's not mandatory. And then also, I want to see how gun savvy you are. Thought in each episode that I might just give you a little test. Now, one advantage you loyal viewers have is that you know a lot of the firearms that I do have. So you can narrow it down from that, perhaps. But anyway, I'm going to work the action of a firearm. It could be a pump shotgun, it could be a 1911, it could be a Glock, a M&P, a SIG, a Ruger. Just no telling. It could be a revolver. So we might call this the action test or something. But I'm going to work the action and make your guess in your comment what you think it is. All right? And I'll let you know, in a few days or in the next episode what it was. So here we go. What do you think? I'll even pull the trigger. Cocked it, pull the trigger. Cock it again, pull the trigger. Bang. Okay, give it your best educated guess, and we'll see who gets it. So anyway, better wrap this up and sign off for now. Hope that everybody out there that's interested enough in shooting videos to be prowling around YouTube looking at shooting videos and listening to crazy diatribes and ramblings such as this, that you are also a member of a gun rights organization, either at the state level or national level of your choice. Hopefully maybe you belong to both. And remember, exaggerate safety and be a positive influence for the firearms community above all. Have a great week. Life is good. You've been listening to the Hickok45 radio show. See you on the range.